All right, I want to give you a scenario that maybe some of you can relate to. Let's say that you are attempting recovery and you have a very, very busy day, whether you're a student or you're a mom or you're a full-time working dad or a stay-home-at-home dad or a full-time working mom or whatever your life is, and it's really busy. Let's say you have a day where, and you've been doing really good, but you have a day where you physically can't get to food and you perhaps maybe skip a snack or you aren't able to eat a full-size lunch like you usually do. And you start to hear very tempting voices trying to get you to perhaps continue to restrict, or suddenly it feels harder to eat again when it comes time to eat. And then especially that following day, it'll be that same time of day and you'll go back to the day before and remember, well, I didn't eat the snack at this time yesterday, or I didn't eat this much at lunch yesterday because I had a meeting or at this, or I wasn't able to. And then all of a sudden that day becomes so hard to eat what you had been eating prior to yesterday to bring it back in. So the reason that's happening is that your body is still in an energy deficit. You're still paying off energy debt that is causing you to feel like you have to have these rituals and have to be exact with the amounts of food you eat in order to, feel safe and to feel okay. So when you're fully recovered, and for anyone who hasn't had an eating disorder, just normal eaters, every single day is different. There are some days when I'm really hungry and I'm so busy and I can't get food for, a couple of hours, and then I eat a lot of food. It's not this like, oh, well, now I feel like I shouldn't eat at all because I missed earlier. Like it doesn't have the same effect. Or if I have one day that I'm really busy and then the following day, and I'm not able to eat as much, then the following day I'm like, dude, I'm really hungry. It's probably because I didn't eat enough yesterday. Like, who knows? But it's not this, I don't feel like I have to match whatever the day was before. And it's interesting because it only works that way. If somebody eats a lot one day, they have no problem the next day when you're in recovery or prior to starting recovery. If you eat a lot one day, you have no problem the next day eating less food. So it's interesting how it only works one way, right? And always in the favor of restriction, in the favor of eating less. So how do we get around that? We recognize that that's a pattern. Identifying patterns in recovery is key. So we recognize that that's a pattern, and we see on that day, okay, I did not get enough food during this time of day, and tomorrow I anticipate is going to be challenging for me because I'm going to think, oh, well, I skipped yesterday. I should definitely still, I should do the same thing today because that feels safe. Recognize that that's probably going to be a temptation, and then come up with a battle plan and commit and decide that that's not going to happen and that you're going to eat, X at that time. And it's going to feel different. And it's going to feel scary because you didn't do it the day before, but you have to break that pattern. If you don't, what happens is, you're 2, 3, 4 days, a week, 2 weeks still restricting because of that one day. And then you find yourself that you've had a relapse or that you're stuck and you're not moving forward anymore in recovery. And so this is something, this recognizing patterns with like times of day that you eat and amounts that you're eating from day to day is really important to not overlook, because it really does make a huge difference. Another thing is, if you have things going on during the day that, and this would be a reason why you'd eat less, that might cause you stress or anxiety, and that if you're challenging yourself with eating more food prior to that event, you might not be all there. So let's say you have like a really important business call, or you're taking your kids somewhere and you need to be present and be able to be, functioning for your child, or you're going out to lunch with a friend, and if you eat too much at lunch, you won't be able to be engaging in conversation like you would want to. Those kinds of things are all excuses for restriction, and ways that we find ourselves falling into restriction very easily. And in recovery, oftentimes we envision it being like, if I could just sit at home all day long and have all the time in the world to prepare my food just perfectly and sit down with no distractions and be able to taste and savor every single bite, then I think I can do this. Which is a step forward, but that's not real life. That's not how life goes. You're going to have events and things that are causing you stress and anxiety. I have things in my life that cause me stress, but it doesn't change the fact that I still eat. It doesn't affect my appetite like that anymore. And so how do you do that in recovery? How do you eventually get there is you start practicing it in recovery. Is exactly that. You do eat before that big business meeting. You do eat as much as you want to get satisfied and full at lunch with your friends. You do, eat and maybe feel a little tension or anxiety when you're with your kids, but you get through it and eventually it gets easier. But you have to challenge those things. That's everyday life. And so anyways, these are just a couple of things, thoughts that I had as I've been talking with some clients earlier today that have been kind of tripping them up, and something that is totally avoidable if you're prepared and you recognize these patterns and then commit to breaking them. So anyways, have a great day.